Hello, my name is Steven. Uh, my topic that I wanted to tell everybody about and kind of share some information about is food waste. And I think it's a topic that a lot of people are familiar with, but are still unknown about a lot of the deeper kind of ideas surrounding food waste itself. It's pretty self-explanatory, and it's just the waste of food that we are producing. A huge issue around the world is climate change, and food waste is a big part of that, but a lot of people focus more on different aspects of it. So I think food waste is a kind of unknown topic that we need to learn more about. There's a movie that I watched recently called Just Eat It, and this kind of showed me some information about food waste that I was unaware of, and it really kind of opened that idea up to me a little more, and honestly scared me. And I think if people knew more and even just had a little more information about it, they would be just as scared. And I think we all need to understand this realization. And throughout this presentation, I will kind of talk about some information that people might not know, and kind of a big idea that I have had regarding food waste that I think could be beneficial in the future for Americans. So kind of diving deeper into the issue of food waste, it's happening all over the world, but I think in America it's probably worse than anywhere else in the world. So I think focusing on Americans' habits, the habits of Americans, and kind of the issues in America regarding food waste. So first of all, I mentioned earlier climate change was a big issue in all of this, kind of that is always on our mind, and food waste is a major part of that, but we don't focus on that as much. We focus more on the usage of plastic, that we need to eliminate that, wasting water, factory farming, stuff like that, which is all very important, but food waste I think is just up there as well with being as important. And kind of gaining a little more knowledge and implementing a little bit of these habits in our lives can alter the effect we've been having on the planet, which I think is very interesting and important for us to try and do. In this picture right here, it's kind of a silly picture, but you have two people sitting in a garbage can basically, but it's behind a supermarket, and in that dumpster you can see there's all of this produce in there, and it looks perfectly edible, and supermarkets just throw it away. And the reasoning behind it isn't because it's bad or not good for someone, it's because of the image that these fruits with some imperfections on them have. And that is kind of a big flaw that we have in our country, is we've tried to find the perfect food and end up throwing away what's not perfect, even though it is edible. And little things like that we can change, and with the help from other supermarkets and stuff, we can kind of implement our business idea that I'll talk about, and kind of try to work with different supermarkets to help our world essentially. Statistics are a big part of this. They give the basis for a lot of the knowledge regarding food waste, and no one really knows about the statistics behind that, and I think that's crazy because they're horrifying numbers. And when I first heard about all this, it really shocked me and made me think twice about what I was doing, and made me want to try to find a way that as a whole we can change our habits. Some of the numbers here, right here it's saying how on average Americans throw away 200 to 250 pounds of food a year. And with all that food that we're throwing away, if we just eliminated 5% of that food waste, we could feed up to 4 million Americans. So even just that small amount of change for us could help save the planet essentially, and just a little bit from us can go a long way with regard to the entire world. And the biggest number that's probably the most shocking is that 40% of food in the United States is never eaten. So that means that this food is produced and we're using the land and resources that we've been given, making food, putting it on the shelves for people to consume, and then just throwing it straight away in the garbage. And that's crazy that almost half of the food that we're producing and essentially hurting the planet for, we're just throwing away and not even using. And I think that's a shame. And the fact that we are throwing away that much food and there's still that much people that are starving or don't have access to good food is crazy, and I think we need to change that. And with this business idea I think we have a good chance of giving people access to this food while also eliminating or reducing the throwing away of food. Let's see. And then another big thing with regard to food waste that I like to talk about before getting to the main idea is a lot of the misconceptions that come with food waste. There's a lot of information that is being put out, and it's gradually becoming bigger and bigger, more information on bigger platforms, and a big thing is misinformation. And with that, the expiration date on food and on labels and stuff, that's a really big one that people don't quite understand, that confuses a lot of buyers, and that can be a reason why we end up throwing away a lot of food. And those numbers aren't meant for us. And what I've learned through doing research and on, I think it was the Washington Post wrote an article about the different meanings behind all that. And a lot of the times those numbers are meant for the producers to the grocery store workers to kind of communicate and say when that should not be on the shelf anymore. And most of the time, those dates are to say when the food is not to the highest standard. It doesn't mean that it's not good anymore. It's just not going to taste like it would at its best point. So I think that's really hard, and I think people are throwing away a lot of food for the wrong reasons, which is unfortunate. And the fact is that a lot of businesses and supermarkets, even small grocery stores, they're not doing anything with that food. They're just throwing away. They're not even trying to donate it to food banks or give it to people in need. And I think that's a resource that we could definitely use. And then to my main point that I think we could change this on a big scale, kind of my solution to this whole issue is opening a reduced food store that would be accessible to lower income families and to anybody willing to purchase this food that is, you know, somewhat closer to expiration date or not up to par to keep in grocery stores. And I think utilizing those foods would help combat this issue of food waste while also giving food to those people that are in need. And using this, like, quote unquote unusable food and giving it to people in need would be kind of killing two birds with one stone and fighting these two main issues we have in America that it doesn't seem like we're doing much about. And I don't think this would be a business venture to make millions of dollars on. It would be more about solving these issues we are having. So a big thing with this would be there would be minimal profit because we would be wanting the stores to be giving us this food, essentially donating it, and then, or even we would be paying a minimum price on it and selling these reduced items at our store so that people can afford these good foods before they go bad, and so we don't waste these foods. The profits would just be enough to keep the store running, to pay our employees, and do kind of whatever work we need to do to get the food from those markets to our shop. And kind of just a general idea to kind of close up about what's happening today regarding food waste. This idea of a reduced food store is being implemented in some major cities, but I don't think the idea has reached a mainstream audience enough to kind of want people to put it in their own communities rather than just bigger cities. And even other countries have been implementing it, and it's doing very well. So I think it would be a great idea to have this in cities throughout America. And then some supermarkets do donate their food or give their food to people in need or sell it at a reduced price, which is helpful, but I think it could be done on a bigger scale. So it's cool that some local businesses are doing that, and even some supermarkets are trying to do that, but it could be done on a bigger scale. And then one last thing are the resources that we could use and that anybody interested in learning more could definitely gain more information about. So the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, on their website, they have a lot of answers to questions that people have regarding food waste, and this can be helpful and kind of ideas that you guys can use at home to help you kind of contribute to the cause and help fight all this. And then the movie I was talking about earlier, Just Eat It, is a great film to watch and kind of shows these two people going about their life in a normal way, but instead of going to the supermarket and buying food each week, they decided to try to live off food waste for 30 days, and the movie is just really eye-opening and kind of shows you the problems that we have and how much an idea like this could help. And just some references that I have listed that would be really beneficial in looking up and kind of doing your own research on and reading more about could be helpful in the long run. So thank you.